All right, let's jump right into this explainer. Today we're unpacking the ICRC's essential guidelines for acting safely and humanely during a crisis. You know, when an emergency strikes, it is completely natural to feel just totally overwhelmed. But with the right mental framework, you can actually transform that panic into purposeful, life-saving action. And today, we're going to walk through exactly how to do that using some incredibly practical, battle-tested guidelines.
Picture a typical emergency scene. It's usually chaotic, right? People are panicking, it's loud, there's distress everywhere. But then there's that one responder who is completely, totally locked in on the casualty. That laser focus, that ability to just tune out all the noise and execute the absolute basics is exactly what we're going to help you build today.
Let's get on the same page real quick with a clear definition. First aid is basically the immediate action you take to preserve life, prevent things from getting worse, and ease suffering right up until professional help arrives. Look, it's not about performing complex open-heart surgery on the sidewalk. It's about those crucial first few minutes where basic, immediate help can quite literally change the outcome for someone.
And before we go any further, there is a fantastic quote from the source text that I really want to highlight. It reminds us that you don't need to be a superhero. You just need to act safely and with humanity. In fact, trying to play the superhero usually just creates more problems. The true power of a first responder is all about calculated, immediate, and compassionate action.
So how do we get there? Here's our roadmap for the responder's journey. First, the goal of first aid. Second, Rule 1, which is safety. Third, immediate care. Fourth, evacuation and help. Fifth, essential hygiene. And finally, knowing your limits.
Let's start with step 1, the goal of first aid and adapting to the environment.
The source material makes it crystal clear that first aid is absolutely not a one-size-fits-all deal. You have to constantly read your environment and pivot based on what's actually in front of you. You've got to ask yourself, what materials do I physically have right now? What are the local guidelines? And realistically, how soon can this person get to a hospital?
Moving right along to step 2, which is Rule 1, think safety first, and assessing the scene. This step is entirely about the difference between instinct and training. It is so tempting to just rush blindly into a dangerous situation, right? It's human nature, but that is exactly how one casualty suddenly turns into 2. Training teaches you to hit the brakes, secure the scene, and direct traffic before you ever lay hands on someone.
The ICRC guidelines have this core mantra: think safety, act safely. Seriously, if you take only one single thing away from this explainer, let it be this. Take that 3-second pause to scan for hazards before stepping forward. Because becoming a casualty yourself helps absolutely no one. Your safety is always the highest priority.
And once you've done that hazard scan, you have to ensure you're actually treating the person in a secure spot, away from whatever caused the threat in the first place. Because honestly, you can't properly examine or treat someone if you're both still sitting in the line of fire.
Okay, step 3, immediate care for casualties, getting into direct engagement.
The scene is safe, so what's next? Well, there's a very specific 3-step sequence you need to follow. First, if they are conscious, you absolutely must ask for their consent to treat them. Then, do a thorough examination. And third, provide care while reassuring them. That first step, asking for consent, is just so incredibly important for building trust in the middle of a chaotic situation.
And when you do make physical contact, it needs to be deliberate and empathetic. Remember, you're treating a human being here, not just a broken arm or a scrape. That means making sure they're as comfortable as possible and that their dignity is maintained. And when you examine them, you do it systematically, checking for everything, not just the most obvious injury.
Actually, this brings up a massive point. Psychological first aid is just as vital as physical bandages. A casualty is usually terrified. By simply talking to them, saying something like, "Hey, I'm here to help, I'm just going to check your shoulder now," you can dramatically lower their heart rate and potentially keep them from going into deeper shock.
All right, let's look at step 4, evacuation and seeking help, transitioning the care.
Look, you cannot do this all yourself, period. A huge part of effective emergency management is knowing how to utilize bystanders and grab whatever resources are around you. You have to recognize the moment a situation goes beyond basic first aid and immediately start organizing a safe evacuation while shouting out for extra help from the crowd.
Now, while you're waiting for that help to arrive, you might think, oh, I should give them some water. Well, hold on. The text is super strict about this. You should only offer clean liquids if the casualty is fully responsive. If they're groggy or unconscious, giving them fluids can literally cause them to choke, which is a worst-case scenario.
Let's move to step 5,
essential hygiene practices, which is all about protecting yourself.
We really can't overlook the unglamorous stuff. You absolutely have to avoid direct contact with body fluids, blood, saliva, vomit during the entire crisis. These can carry serious pathogens. So if you've got gloves, use them. If you don't, grab a clean plastic bag or whatever barrier you can find to protect your hands.
And the immediate aftercare isn't just for the victim, it's for you too. Keeping your hands clean is a total non-negotiable. The very second you hand that casualty over to the professionals, your immediate next step should be finding clean water and scrubbing your hands to prevent any sort of cross-contamination.
Finally, step 6, knowing your own limits, focusing on post-care and personal boundaries. The ICRC explicitly says your help has to stay strictly within your own personal limits. That means emotional, physical, technical, and material limits. You are not expected to magically invent medical equipment out of thin air or endure severe psychological trauma. You do what you are realistically capable of doing safely, and then you step back. That actually makes you a better responder.
And hey, once it's all over, the adrenaline crash is incredibly real. Simply sitting down, having a warm cup of tea, and just decompressing is a mandatory part of processing that intense stress. You've got to take a breath, let your family know you're okay, and give yourself a moment to recover.
So, the source text really urges all of us to build on this framework by getting officially certified. Knowing the steps in theory is great, but that vital muscle memory, that only comes from practice. When the unexpected happens and seconds literally dictate survival, will you be just another bystander, or are you ready to step up and safely save a life?